Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you all here today in Wolverhampton to launch our local election campaign. And these elections are really important because they make decisions about how our communities and our local areas are run. But what is at choice and at stake in these elections is not just about who's best at running things. It's about our Labour values in action in every community around the country. And look, I know there's a lot going on in the world right now, and I think right now people can see how events around the world really do affect us here at home, and people are very worried about that. But can I just say at the off how immensely proud I am of our Labour Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and the decision... And the decision that he took in the face of a lot of pressure and criticism not to follow blindly into an offensive war. That is what good judgment looks like. That was the right call. And that's our Labour values in action. And it's those values in action, those values of fairness, opportunity for all and justice, that we operate in every single thing that we do, even when we have to take on those vested interests in some of those decisions. Whether that means taking on the vested interests in supercharging clean, homegrown energy to ensure we've got lower bills and energy security, taking on those deniers. We do that. That's our Labour values in action. Or those who say, let's have a race to the bottom on workers' rights. No, we say that a fair, strong economy is better secured by decency and security in work. Or when those say we can't afford to address child poverty, we say we can't afford not to. That is our Labour values in action. And we do the same on housing, making sure that we've got renters' rights and people have got those rights in housing when people said we couldn't do that. And taking on the leasehold system, fleecing young people and managing agents who need calling out. That's what this Labour government does. That is Labour values in action. And they stand in stark contrast, don't they, to the values of our opponents. I mean, Nigel Farage, he is no friend, is he? He's no friend of working people. He thinks the economic status quo is working just fine. And what we need is a few more tax breaks for the richest, and eventually it will trickle down to everybody else. He's wrong about that. He doesn't have our values in what he is doing. And let's not let Reform run any more councils than they're already running. I mean, look at what they are doing. They're cutting children's services and they're cutting the early years. We can't have that. That is what is at stake in these elections. I do hear that Nigel Farage is going for a new job as he's going for a new job as Donald Trump's intern, an overpaid one at that. But look, he doesn't have the national interests at heart. He just has his own side deals at heart, and that is what is at stake. And look, as for Zach Polanski and the Greens, look into my eyes, everybody. Look deep into my eyes, and I'll let you into a little secret. The Greens are no good at running councils. Their hypnotic promises are just an illusion. So let's remember that. So look, friends, there is a lot at stake in these elections, but let's go out there with confidence, knowing that our values are the right values to address the big problems that this country faces. Our Labour values in action, that is what is at stake in these elections. Thank you very much, everybody. And now I'd like to introduce to you Sarah from Dudley, who's going to speak a little bit about her experience and how those Labour values in action have helped her. Thank you, Sarah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah. I live in the West Midlands and I'm a working mum. 2 years ago, my husband and I adopted 2 amazing twins. And it's completely changed our world, our lives in the best possible way. Becoming parents overnight to 2 little people who rely on you for absolutely everything has been amazing, but it's been a lot. It's been a lot of love, a lot of learning, and definitely a lot of chaos. But seeing our boys grow in confidence, start to feel secure, and really begin to thrive has meant everything to us. And routine has been a really important part of that. For adoptive children, feeling safe, settled, and knowing what comes next can make such a difference. And nursery has played a huge role in helping them build that sense of stability and belonging. They absolutely love going to nursery. They're learning new things, making friends, and just enjoying being little children. Although I did get told recently I'm not their best friend anymore. Nellie from nursery has taken that position. I know. We were already benefiting from the 15 hours free childcare through the Time for Two scheme, and that support really helped to give them a strong start. But like many parents, once we'd settled into life as a family of 4, I wanted to go back to work. But when we looked at the cost of nursery full-time for 2 children, it honestly felt undoable. Childcare is one of the biggest costs any family faces, and with twins, everything is doubled. I remember sitting down, working through the numbers, and thinking, how are we going to make this work? For a while, it felt like I might have to go back part-time instead of full-time, simply because of the costs. Then last September, the free childcare allowance for working parents increased from 15 hours to 30 hours. And that genuinely made such a big difference for our family and lots of families in my area. When I worked it out, it's saving us around £400 a week. That's not a small amount. That's a really significant cost back into our household budget at a time when everything else is getting more expensive. The cost of living has gone up in so many areas, and at a time when families are feeling the pressure of the cost of living, that support really matters. For us, that extra support didn't just help a bit. It completely changed the calculation. It meant I could return to work full time. Instead of reducing my hours simply to pay for childcare costs, it meant more financial stability for our family, more security for our boys, and it meant that we could focus on building our future, rather than constantly worrying about whether the numbers added up each month. As a mum, especially an adoptive mum, being able to give my boys that consistency and sense of security means so much. I'm genuinely very grateful for the support that has made that possible. I love my job as a data analyst. Most of the time, I'm still answering the question, why? But every now and then, I get asked how, what, and who as well, which makes a nice change. And the support, it doesn't just stop there. When my boys start school next September, we'll benefit from wraparound care and breakfast clubs, some of which are already opening in our areas now. That will make a real difference to our mornings, helping us balance work and family life, and making sure the boys start their day settled and ready to learn. These kind of changes make a real practical difference to families like mine. I've seen real positive change in my life as a working mum, change that's only possible because of the Labour government led by Keir Starmer. There's a lot going on in the world right now, global pressures that affect the cost of living here at home, but we are fortunate to have a government and a Prime Minister who's on our side, focused on supporting working families and help ease those pressures as much as possible. That's the change a Labour government can make. So now I'm delighted and incredibly proud to introduce our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Sarah. And Sarah, I think you've got a little picture of your little boys, your twins, in your locket that you carry with you every day. And I spoke to Sarah earlier on. She's never done anything like this before. You were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And thank you for giving her such a warm welcome, such energy in the room. We've got the Cabinet here, we've got MPs here, councillors, and brilliant candidates that we're going out to fight for in this election. fighting for Labour votes, for Labour values and Labour pride in whatever place you come from across the country. So important as we build a Britain for all. But as has already been said, the backdrop to these elections is uncertain. We're facing a war on two fronts. The Ukraine war now, 4 and a bit years in, and let's salute the bravery of the Ukrainians over so many years, both on the front line and the civilians, as they fight for the values that matter to us. And now the other front, the other war, which is the Iran war, which I know is causing huge concern. People look at their screens and they're worried when they see explosions, infrastructure blown up, the rhetoric that goes with it, worried about whether this is going to escalate even further. And therefore it's really important that I reiterate where I stand and where this government stands. Because this is not our war. And we are not going to be dragged into it. Yes, of course, we will defend British lives and British interests in the region. And we'll stand by our allies in the Gulf region. But we're not going to get dragged in. That's my values. That's my principles, and that's what we've applied to our decisions, whatever the pressure and whoever it's coming from. But what a contrast if you took Kemi Badenoch or Nigel Farage. What did they want to do? They wanted to go straight in with both feet into the war without thinking through the consequences. Now they're in opposition at the moment. Maybe that doesn't matter very much, but it's terrible judgment. Because taking your country to war is the single most important decision a Prime Minister can ever take. And if they had been in government, would be in a war with no plan. Then you've got Polanski. He thinks that with a war on two fronts, now is the time to give up our NATO membership. Now is the time to start negotiating with Putin over our nuclear deterrent. We'd be left so weak and so exposed if any of those individuals were in government. And it's really important, therefore, that we stick to our principles, stick to our values, and show the leaderships that needed in a time like this. And I know that in addition to worrying about what they see on screen, so many people across the country, when they see the war, particularly in Iran, they're beginning to think, how's this going to impact on me, my family, my household, and my bills going up? And that's a perfectly understandable concern. And it's a real concern to the government that we make sure that we do what we can to support families across the country. That's why I'm really pleased that at the last budget, Rachel Reeves, our Chancellor, who steadied the way on our economy, took the decision that we would reduce household energy bills. And this Wednesday, that decision comes into effect. So for households across the country who are really worried about the impact on their bills, I can be really clear today that on Wednesday, your energy bills will come down by about an average £100, just over £100, and they will stay down until the end of June, whatever happens in the conflict in Iran. Really important we get that message across. People are very worried about this. Bills coming down this Wednesday, staying down until the end of June. And so there's that reassurance for people. Fuel duty as well, frozen until September. And for those that use oil to heat their homes, which happens in rural areas, we put some support in there as well because we know the costs are going up. Really important when we're looking at international conflict that we stay focused on the cost of living, which whatever's going on in the world, whatever's going on in politics, and there's a lot in both, most people are concerned, most of all, about the cost of living. And it's not just energy bills. We're taking so many other measures. But Sarah spoke about childcare. What a change that's made for Sarah and her twins. She showed me a picture of the twins earlier on, by the way. They're fantastic. What a difference it makes for her and for families across the country. And I'm so proud that we've taken the decision to do this on so many fronts. It reduces the cost. Childcare is expensive. Sarah gave us an insight into how much it would have cost her. It's really expensive. It saves families a lot of money. It's really good for parents and carers because if they want to, they can get back to work and get more money coming into their household. And it is brilliant for children because as politicians, we visit a lot of schools, all of us do. Every time I go to a primary school, there's concern about children arriving in reception aged 4. And the concern of the teachers and the backup staff in schools is always the same. They say to me, Keir, the problem we've got is that aged 4, some children are coming in ready to learn, in really good shape, ready to get going with their education, and others are coming in, barely out of nappies, unable to do the basics that will give them the chance to learn. That is inequality baked in at aged 4. Our childcare free means that all children get the chance to have that support before they get to school, because it's 9 months to 4 years. Every child will start their education on an equal footing. That is generational change under this Labour government. And whilst I'm on generational change, we're ending the 2-cap limit on childcare. That means hundreds of thousands of children who would otherwise have grown up in poverty will be lifted out of poverty and have a real chance in their lives. And don't tell me that growing up in poverty doesn't make a difference. Every single piece of evidence is the same. If you've grown up in poverty, you will not have a fair chance in life. So this is a game changer for children, not just now, but for years and years to come. And it's only happened because of a Labour government. And this is a busy week, because minimum wages go up on Wednesday as well. So all those on the minimum wage get a bit more money in their pockets. We're freezing rail fares, freezing prescription charges, because this is a government that bears down on the cost of living, because we know it's the single most important thing to so many people across the country. Really important in response to this conflict in Iran. Some will use, sadly, the conflict in Iran to whip up even more division in our country and our society. If you can believe it, they barely need a reason. We saw Nick Timothy at it last week, complaining about Muslims praying in public. We see so many examples, but people will use this to try and tear the country further apart. It's really important that we assert our Labour values here as we go into campaign. Our Labour values about how we bring people together, how we understand the importance of place and the pride that people put in the place that they come from. Look, you can see it all around these posters here, but it's really important people identify with. They're proud of their place. What they've been looking for years is a government that recognises that and comes up alongside them in that pride and ambition. And that's why I'm so pleased that we've not just put in place a Pride in Place scheme, but also extended it recently. And this is where we allocate money to particular places, and then we do something unusual that only a Labour government would do, which is to say to people who live there and work there, you decide what the money is spent on, because you're going to have a better idea than someone in Westminster or Whitehall. And that's why it's Pride in Wolverhampton. Let Wolverhampton decide. There's 2 of our funds in Wolverhampton. Let the people of Wolverhampton decide what's best for Wolverhampton, and same across the country. Really, really important. So as we go into these elections, we're fighting for international leadership. We're fighting for a focus on the cost of living, and we're fighting for pride in place across the whole country. And of course, the other thing that matters is that we have public services that actually work for people when they need them. They've been decimated under the last government. It's tragic what they did to our public services, which were in good shape when the last Labour government left office. They were in good shape, and then they've been decimated. Our job is to build them back up. And the focus that we've put is very much on building up and sustaining those public services. Nowhere more than in the NHS, where Streeting here leading on that front, investing record amounts in our NHS, bringing the waiting lists down, and more confidence going back into our NHS. This is the thing I think that broke all of our hearts, is that confidence in the NHS was a record high in 2010, and then it plummeted under the last government because of what they did to the NHS. Gradually, through the hard work that we've put in, the investment we've put in, and Wes's leadership, that confidence is going back up because people can see that it matters to us. We don't see public services just as a chart of how much money you can save here or there. We see them something you invest in because they're vital for people. So we build up through our values, through our judgments, through our leaderships, and we go out now in this campaign on the front foot, positive about the campaign, relishing the opportunity to go to doorsteps and say to people, vote Labour for the following reasons. Vote Labour because of our values. Vote Labour because of our leadership. Vote Labour because it makes a huge difference to so many lives across the country. Thank you all so much. Really brilliant to be with you. Thank you. Pride in Britain.